and Vinay, who are going to present this vendor collaboration session today. And I also want to congratulate Ramit on being elevated as a MVP for his contribution towards community. Congratulations, Ramit. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are. Welcome to the session of vendor collaboration in FNO. So now I would like to hand over to Ramit to continue the session.
Hi, Vasav. Hi, Rakesh.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Hi, Ramit. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words.
Thank you.
I would also like to congratulate Rakesh for becoming the MVP. Good job, Rakesh. Keep up the good work. Keep sharing your knowledge always.
Yeah, I think that inspiration always comes from you, and we have one hidden gems, Bilur. She's also
Yeah.
joined from Turkey. So I think let's celebrate and welcome her, and also congratulate her being an MVP and focus more on the finance area. So congratulations, Bilur.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Vilur. Okay, I think we can start, right?
Yes.
And if I start,
Yeah.
I would like to thank you everyone who has joined. I think someone has raised the hand. Oh, I'm sorry, he has dropped the hand. So thank you everyone for joining and in the weekend. And this is a good number of participants who have joined. And thanks for motivating us for joining and showing off that you want to learn. And I can see a lot of people here also share their knowledge to the community so that we can learn and grow together. Thanks again. So let me present my screen. Okay. So as you know that our today's agenda is vendor collaboration mainly. Okay, and along with me, Vinay Varghese will join, and we will play an interesting role in this session. Okay, some of the part I will show and some of the part Vinay will show. Let me welcome Vinay also. Vinay, welcome. If you can just introduce.
Hi everyone. First of all, thanking you, Ramit, the entire crew of this community for including me also to at least to showcase few elements. And I'm very happy to be a part of this platform. So we will go ahead with the vendor collaboration, not wasting your time, especially on your weekend.
Yeah. Thanks. So let's see what we have in today's agenda. Or before I share the agenda, I would like to make you understand what is vendor collaboration, because it is very important to understand the concept before we showcase. So what is vendor collaboration? Say suppose you are working with an organization, and organization procure something, some materials, raw materials or anything to run a business, either it's operating, capex, whatever. The organization needs to buy something from the suppliers. There comes the suppliers organization. And here, if you are aware of the procurement cycle, there the cycle is like, if the requirement is there, like say suppose raw material or any expense or whatever it is, they need to purchase from the supplier. Sometimes or many of the times they raise the requisition, and then from the requisition there is the other sourcing part works, like RFQ, request for quotation. And request for quotation is whatever the requirement is there from the organization, that requirement gets sent to the vendor, and vendor participates in the bidding. And the vendors who are or who is comparatively lower or good in quality, those vendors are selected, and the organization buy materials or any expenses from that vendor. So that is basically the sourcing part. So when I say this acceptance, rejection, sourcing, this entire cycle is now, or from couple of years, it can be managed in Dynamics itself. That means we can send RFQ to the vendors. Vendor can access our dynamics, they can participate in bidding, they can update the amount in the dynamics, and we can compare based on their update in the dynamics itself. So this entire communication cycle happens in dynamics, and that's called a vendor collaboration. So that's what I was saying. Between this two party, we have dynamics, and then the major part where when I say collaboration, we need someone from the vendor organization, where I have named, or we have named her as a Miss Stella. She will, I mean, just to show you that she will be, I mean, she needs to collaborate in dynamics. So it's not the vendor, it's the vendor's contact who it's basically collaborate in dynamics. And that's the whole cycle is called vendor collaboration. I hope you understood this concept. We will move ahead. So on this vendor collaboration, what organization can do, what vendor can do. From the organization point of view, that organization needs to onboard the vendor and then onboard the vendor contacts. And after that, vendor contacts like Ms. Stella, or in this session, Binay will play a part of the contacts of vendor. So whoever she is or he is, they can collaborate in the dynamics. For that, we need to onboard them into dynamics. And then what vendor can do, that we will show you in couple of minutes. If vendor contacts or vendor has the access in our dynamics, it's obviously that it's only his or the organization can be visible for them. So vendor can update their basic details. They can participate in bidding on the received RFQ. They can accept, they can reject, or suggest changes to purchase order confirmation. And vendor can also, or vendor contact can also create invoices. You must be wondering that why vendor contact will create invoices. Yes, you are right. Vendor contact will not be able to post the invoice. However, when they ship the the shipment from their warehouse or sites or location, they can create a pending vendor invoice. They cannot do matching. They just can select the purchase order, and that's it. Give the invoice number. So by saying this, we will now go to the system and we'll show you the demo. So let me here first, as I mentioned, we will onboard a vendor contacts. We will not create a vendor because vendor creation is same process. We will now onboard a vendor contacts. Say I will give my Gmail ID or any ID. If you wish to volunteer, you can also give. Just give me a minute. Okay. So my laptop has drained out. Okay. For this, suppose I'm working with this Lechware India, and for this vendor, or organization want to onboard a vendor contact so that they can collaborate or participate in the collaboration. Okay. So now what I will do, I need to go to, or maybe this is optional, but I can update some email contact details as well, but it is not mandatory. Just to show you from it all. So now the main thing is that we need to add the ID into the vendor contacts. The first step is that add contacts. Here I will say, suppose write as Ramit as or someone else as a vendor contact. I will write my name. Here I will add contact details. Primary. And then once I save it, there is an option called provision vendor user. I will click on it. and you will notice the new window will appear. That is required to add some business justification is called, say suppose I can write for vendor collaboration. I will tick it, and here you will notice there are two roles I need to give, or system will suggest which role to give. So there are two roles. One role is maintains vendor contact persons and vendor user request. One role is for maintains vendor documents and expert responses to vendor inquiries to vendor collaboration. So one is kind of, you can give them access to update their vendor details. If you don't want, then you can only give this one role. I will give two roles to showcase the full functionality. So these roles are coming from where? These roles are coming from the external role. If you go to system admin module, and these are the external roles. Sometimes you might be wondering what is the usage of these external roles. This is the main purpose of the external roles. So I will give this roles and I will click submit. So why I am going to submit? Because it is not something that a data record creation without any workflow. It requires a workflow, which the workflow is in the system admin module, which is say user, sorry, not this one, user workflows under system administration module. So user request workflow, vendor user request, and vendor user inactivation request. These all are for the vendor collaboration. See, this one, vendor user inactivation request. In inactivation request means, suppose there has been some vendor and we want to lock, or we want to restrict that vendor contacts to use our dynamics for XYZ reason. We can also inactive those vendor contacts. Now, we are using this workflow, vendor user request creation. Okay, so now this has been submitted to the workflow. I can check that workflow from here itself, where I've gone here in the menu item in vendor collaboration user request, the same form. I will select this and I will see this workflow is assigned. So this has been submitted to the workflow. Now since I am the next approver, I will just approve. So what we are doing, basically we are creating the vendor contacts in our system. To create this, we need to go through the workflows. And now this workflow has 3 steps. One, since this vendor can have different domain, of course this will be a different domain. Say suppose your organization is contoso.com, but your vendor must not be in Contoso Azure Active Directory. This must be a different Azure Active Directory. Like I have added Gmail, my Gmail ID. So this is not an organization ID. Since my ID is in some Active Directory, we can use that user ID in the Dynamics. For users who are not in the Azure Active Directory, that is required to be added as a guest, or that acceptance or invitation will be sent to the vendor email address. See here, the next part of the workflow, like I mentioned, Azure AD Active Directory B2B user invitation. Once I have added my ID, the invitation will be sent to the admin ID needs to export the invitation file, import into their Azure Active Directory, and import in their Azure Active Directory if the vendor ID is not there in any AD. So once I am done with this, some admin will create that vendor in their domain as a guest, or if required, if the vendor is not there any AD till date. So my ID is there, so I will not be required to add the domain AD for the domain AD. So I have now approved this one, or I have done this, I have completed this step. So now the next part will be again another approval. This is as per the organization policy. If they want to have further approval, they can have. Otherwise, after the B2B invitation, it can be completed as well. So I will now approve once again. Okay, now it must be showing completed. Let me check the history. It takes some time to run the batch for workflow. Okay, I think it is done. It is completed. So what does it mean? What does this completed means? Completed means this user is now onboarded and this user is created as a user ID in system administration. So if I go to system administration, if I check these users, you will see that user creation is automatically done by this workflow. If I contains Ramit, you will see this is the Gmail ID and system automatically created this user ID in our system administration user module. If I click on this user ID, you will notice the two roles which I have assigned at the time of onboarding automatically added. So this is the vendor onboarding activity. I am repeating once again to summarize what we have done. We have one organization. We need to give them the access, the vendor contacts, right? For that, we need to onboard the vendor contacts from the vendor contacts form, and we need to submit into the workflow. Once the workflow is completed, automatically system will create the user in our user form with the ID we have given. From now, this ID, I mean Ramit Paul, can use Dynamics without any failure. So for now, since I am presenting. So for this thing, for the organization part, I am showcasing, but from the vendor part, I have created the same way Vinay's ID. So Vinay will take us through now how it looks like to have the access in Dynamics System of Finance and Operation. So Vinay will play the vendor contacts role from now on, and I will play the organization role, who will create purchase requisition, who will send RFQ, and Vinay will play the vendor details or vendor acceptance bidding participants role. So Vinay, over to you. Now showcase the vendor collaboration module, how it looks like.
Thank you, Ramit. I am sharing my screen. So I have used my personal email ID, which is actually a Gmail account. You can see here. So with that, I logged in. So this is I am a contact for the vendor. So after logging in, so this is my default dashboard. So since I am the vendor, I have only very limited options to see, which are actually more specific to vendor. I would be able to see only these four options. So we will start with the hierarchy, how it is going. So instead of going first with invoicing, I will start with vendor information. So I'm just tapping on vendor information to see what exactly the vendor can suggest from his contact details or address details. So these are the basic details related to this. So I can see my contact details. If I want to see the users that are created, then I can see the list of users actually that are created in that. So again, I'm just going back. If I want to make some changes to my address, so I can see I am just opening the general details. This is my address. So if I want to make some changes or suggestions, I can click on edit. I'm just changing few of the details in the address, similar to how we are doing in the at the time of creating a vendor address. So instead of along with this street, I am adding one more line. So I'm just saving that this is it. I just wanted to add one more line to make it more specific to my address. So this is done. I don't have to update anything based on this collaboration. These details will update to my vendor card in Dynamics. So I'm going back again. So this is related to the vendor information. There will be a few details that the vendor can update on behalf of, or the contact person for the vendor can update. So I am actually playing the role for Stella from the previous slide. I am Stella. So I am on behalf of Stella. I'm updating these details. Again, I'm going back to the home page. So that is vendor information. The vendor will be able to update few of the details. So if you want to put some restrictions that the basic details also should not be updated automatically, then you can put some workflows in the vendor master saying that if there are some updates, then it should go to an approval, and then only that should be activated to the vendor card. The next is bidding, vendor bidding. So vendor bidding is nothing. So as Ramit mentioned, or just mentioned that he will be creating some purchase requisitions, and from the purchase requisitions, he will be creating some requests for quotations. So once those requests for quotations are shared with the vendor, so I will receive that intimate saying that there is a new bid invitation. So I will be able to see that new bid invitation. Clicking on that, that will be listed here. I can bid on that. So maybe I will be receiving few details saying that I need a laptop. Maybe some specifications of the laptop will be there. So I can specify the price for that, maybe the estimated date of delivery, maybe the terms of payment, or maybe the method of delivery. So those details I would be able to update, and that will be updated back to the submitted RFQ along with the purchase requisition, which is actually created from the organization. I can also see return bids. So we will come back to this when we start the RFQ creation along with purchase requisition. Return bids are nothing, but now I submitted one request. I submitted one bid. So after submitting the bid, the organization says that there should be some changes in the prices, or I need to agree on some of the terms of conditions has to be changed. Then if it is returned for the vendor to make some changes, or after negotiations, so then those details will come back to my return bids. So bids in progress means that I have actually suggested some or I have submitted, but that is still in progress and not accepted or not rejected. It is still in the evaluation process for the organization. So those details the vendor will be able to see from here. Awarded bids are nothing but my bid got accepted or approved, and that I am expecting a purchase order to be released from that particular bid. Lost bid is nothing but it is the bid that I have submitted is actually rejected by the organization. Maybe they got a competitive price for the same bid from another vendor or another supplier, and they decided to go along with that. So these are the details the vendor can see or update or proceed with these options along with the vendor bidding option. So next we will go to purchase order confirmation. So purchase order confirmation is nothing but after creating a purchase order from, maybe it can be from the purchase requisition, or it can be a direct purchase order in case if there are no purchase requisitions created. So in that case, if the organization wants to take a confirmation from the vendor, so it can be on many things. It can be on the mode of delivery. So it can be on the total price or total discounts that are agreed. So those details will send to the vendor. So once that is sent to the vendor will be able to see those details reflecting here. So the vendor can make suggest some changes, or he can directly accept the confirmation without any changes, or even he can reject that So those details will come once the purchase order confirmation is created from the purchase order. So here you can see there are 3 open purchase order, open confirmed purchase order for which the it is new listing, even though it is showing as 3. We will come back to this once after the purchase order is created and confirmation is shared with the vendor. And the last one is invoicing. So invoicing is nothing for I got a purchase order. I got a purchase order that is actually created or shared with me, and then I will be delivering the or supplying the goods. So once the shipment is going from my premises, so along with the delivery challan or along with the shipment note, I will also send the invoice details. So at that same time, I can create invoice for the purchase order. So you can see there is one draft for which I have not submitted any invoices. I have not created any invoice. I have not completed that. So submitted, not approved, which means I have actually created an invoice, but it is not approved by the finance department or the accounts payable department of the organization. And the next one is, you can see there are 9 notifications for approved, not paid, which means whatever invoice that I have created that are approved by the organization, but the payment is not released. Now the last one is paid, which means I have created invoices, the supplier, the organization has approved it and the payment also got released. So these are the options that the vendor can play around at, for invoicing. So we will again revise how to create a new invoice once after we create a purchase order or purchase confirmation. Over to you, Ramit.
Thank you, Vinay. Now we will show you the demo on the system. We will start with the RF purchase requisition creation. So here I will play the organization role who will create the requisition, and vendor will play the vendor contacts vendor role. So here I will create say PR for laptop. I will add a line. "1104 laptop." Here I am not adding any vendor details. I will submit into the workflow. These are the normal standard process for creating any purchase requisition. I will submit into the workflow. And once I have submitted it, I will raise a request for quotation from here only. I will click OK. The quotation is created. I will click on this quotation. I will go to header. I will add the vendor, which is, I guess, this first one, right, Vinay? Yeah, it is automatically coming.
Yes.
Yeah. And now, once I'm done with this, I can click on send. And I will click OK. Let me check one thing. I need to check the expiry date 29. I will check, say, change the expiration date of this PR is 31st. I will click send. I will click OK. So now I am sending this request RFQ to the vendor. Now, Vinay, can you confirm whether you have received it? Vinay?
Yes, Ramit. You want me to share it and show it once again?
Yes, Please. No, I have, yes, correct. So I have seen the details to Vinay's vendor and vendor or Vinay from the vendor organization can show us how they will participate in this bidding. Yeah, over to you, Vinay.
So from the dashboard, I will go to vendor bidding. And now you can see there is under new bid invitation. I can see one which is actually created. So this is the RFQ number. I am clicking it open. So I can see those details here. So I can directly go ahead decline, or if I want to participate, I can click on bid. And now I'm ready to participate for the bidding. Now I'm just directly going to the line details to see what exactly the organization is requesting for. So I can see the procurement category is laptop. So maybe I will receive few more details. If the organization is sending some attachments along with that, I will be able to see the RFQ line attachments. So if they are specific to, if they want to mention certain specifications along with that line, so those line attachments I will be able to, the vendor will be able to see. And if few of the details are mentioned in the line details, for example, if they have mentioned something for the line description, so that details also will be able to see from here. Now it is only one quantity. The price is not defined here. So I understood that this is 15-inch laptop. I'm not going to know much of details. I am saying that the unit price is going to be maybe 75,000 bucks. And I also want to say that the delivery and payment terms. The expected delivery is 29th. So I won't be able to deliver it on 29th. It may take a couple of days more, and I would be able to deliver it on 2nd of May. So if I want to add more details here, I can say that if I want to change the terms of payment, so I say that it is not going to be 10 days, I need it in 7 days. I can make those suggestions also here. Then after submitting these details, and if the organization is saying that this bid or this particular quotation request will expire, I can see that expiration details here. So even the vendor can mention this reply will expire in maybe I'm saying that if you are not responding within before 30th of April, this bid will be expired and you won't be able to proceed further. So those details also the vendor can provide at the time of submitting the bid. So I have added few of the basic details and I'm going ahead submitting it. So tap on submit the bid, yes to all. Yes. Now I have submitted, the vendor has submitted the bid. Now if you go back to the dashboard, taking you to the vendor bidding again. So the new bidding invitations is not there. Now I am just waiting for the organization to revert on my submitted bid. Over to you, Ramit.
Great. So now Vinay has submitted the bidding, and organization will check, compare the replies, manage and replies. They can, I mean, we can accept the bid, we can reject the bid. I will go to the request for quotation. I can select compare replies. Before I compare the replies, I can see that lowest status and highest status is received. Now previously it was sent. Now we have received the bidding from the vendor organization. I can click on compare bidding. If had it been more than one vendor, this would have been very much useful, because in here all the bidding would have come one by one header line, one on another line. So now, since we only send this RFQ to one vendor, which is Vinay's organization, we can only see this one. I can, click on this header and accept it from here as well, or I can go to manage replies. I can see all the details from here, what Vinay has updated, what price Vinay has updated, delivery date and everything. Once I am happy with this, either I can, once I am happy, I can accept. Once I am not happy, or I found another vendor with lowest price or quicker delivery time, I can click on reject. Or I want to further, negotiate with Vinay's organization, I can send it return. Vinay will again get this in the dashboard and he will work accept or reject on the suggestion. I will straight away go ahead and accept this bidding because I'm happy with the price what Vinay has quoted. Once I have clicked on it, automatically this ID, price, and everything will be, sent to the this purchase requisition form. So now, if I refresh it, see now everything what Vinay has uploaded in the request for quotation, I have accepted it in the system only. Vinay has uploaded everything in the system. Vinay's ID is there and everything is done. Now I will go ahead and approve the requisition. So this is the major part of the collaboration we have done in this demo, that organization have sent their request for quotation. Vendor logged it into the Dynamics 365. They participated in the bidding. They have suggested some price and we have accepted the price. That is a nice part of major part of the collaboration in Dynamics. We have more. We will show one by one. So now, once our purchase requisition is approved, we will release it for PO. Just a minute, it is now going to be approved. Let's see workflow history. Workflow completed, it is showing. Okay, I think it is approved. Okay, now I will release this for PO. I think this is the one. I will click on purchase order. Okay, and then it is done, which 160 purchase order has been created. Now I will go to this purchase order. Now, before I confirm it, or if I have workflow, I can also, change some price here as well, and I can send it for further, validation from Binay's organization before I confirm the purchase order and send it to Binay. Say I want to change something in the price, I can also do that. Say 500. Why I am raising the price? Binay will be beneficial. Binay will make more money. Okay, I have decreased the price. I'm just hypothetically changing something, but don't go with the flow. It is not a valid scenario that someone has sent it and I have accepted and I'm decreasing the price. It can be valid, or maybe majority of the cases it won't be valid. But I just wanted to show you I can change the something in the purchase order, and again I will send this to Vinay, and Vinay will get as a purchase order from Dynamics. So here I will select in the purchase tab and I can click on send for confirmation under vendor collaboration action pane. Now now Vinay will get the notification that something has been changed. Vinay will review and will accept, reject, or whatever he wants to do. Yeah, it is done. What do you, Vinay? I have suggested something in the system.
Thanks, Ramit. So again, I am doing on behalf of the vendor. So before going to see the purchase order confirmation, I am just taking you to see the vendor bidding once again. So now, if you remember the awarded bids, it was only one. I just want to see what are the changes now that has happened. Now, if you remember, this was the RFQ number that we received, 26. So this is also accepted by the organization. Now, I am sure that I am expecting a purchase order or a purchase order confirmation to be shared with me by the organization. I'm going back to the dashboard once again. And here in the purchase order confirmation, I am checking whether there are some purchase order confirmations that I have received. So I have a new purchase order confirmation, which is actually sent for my review. So I can click here, and from here itself, I can directly accept it, reject it, or if I want to make some suggestions to what I have received, I can do it from here. So before doing that, I just want to see what exactly is shared with me. So this is the PO number. So you can see the basic details of the PO as you see in the purchase order. And this is the line. The price, I just want to see the details, everything is in place. I'm just expanding to see whether to see the more details into that. So if I want to make some changes, then I can click on suggest changes. And if I want to accept it without suggesting any changes, I'm good to go ahead with whatever which was agreed in the RFQ. Then I can directly accept it. So if I want to, at the time of accepting the purchase order confirmation, also if I want to attach some documents along with that, then that also can be done along with submitting this confirmation. So in this case also, I'm just suggesting some changes just to showcase you how the suggestions are actually reflecting there in Dynamics as a confirmation that the reply from vendor. So the mode of delivery now it is blank. I'm just selecting one of the mode of deliveries. So I'm changing this to truck, updating this to truck, just to show you how this change is actually reflecting in after I am submitting this confirmation. I'm not making much of the changes. I just want to show you a few of the major things that can be done in the vendor collaboration platform, and that will actually flow back to the purchase order. So then I can click on accept with changes. I'm not putting any notes, I'm directly accepting it. So now I have accepted this purchase order confirmation with a change in the mode of delivery. Over to Ramit.
Great. Thank you, Vinay. I'm sharing my screen once again. And as you notice, once I have sent it for confirmation and the status is in external review, if I refresh, and Vinay has sent some response, I will click on this view response on latest sent order. And if you notice, Vinay has changed his mode of delivery and it is coming as bold in blue. So that is the identification that we can get to know what changes have done. We can see those in bold. Now I'm happy with Vinay's changes. I will click on process PO update. Whatever I do, it will be updated in the PO. So I will click on refresh, and if see the status is now approved from external review because I have accepted the changes. Even I want now as well, I can send it for further confirmation. It will be changed to external review. So this is, and now it has been changed. Now after some time, you will notice this approved will be confirmed. It is very important part. We will show you why it is changed. It will be changed to approved from confirmation, which is if you go to the vendor, you will notice one field in the vendor card, which is collaboration activation. So it is mandatory to activate it. By default, it is none. If you don't make it activate, Binay will not be able to do anything in the vendor collaboration. As of now, what he has been doing, would have not done if this had been a not active situation. Now, there are two options. One, active PO is not auto confirm. Active PO is auto confirm. What does it means? If say suppose Vinay has suggested something and I have clicked for process for PO. So once I am done, once I have clicked on that, system will take some time and make this approved to confirmed. The reason is if here I have updated is PO is auto confirm. Had it been PO is not auto confirm, if I have done process for PO from that Vinay's response, it would have been only approved. It would have not been confirmed. Okay, to do this confirmation, how this is getting confirmed, there is a batch job in the procurement and sourcing. That batch job needs to be running. We'll go to this system administration and we'll show you the batch job. This one, confirm accepted purchase orders from vendor collaboration. That means I have sent it for confirmation. Binay has confirmed, Binay has changed something, I have accepted it, and automatically it will be confirmed from the approved. I don't know why it is taking time. Let's see the batch job recurrence. It is 1 minute. If this doesn't get confirmed within couple of seconds, I will make it manually confirm. I will not wait for it. Will count.
I just want to add one thing here. Now, had, as a vendor, I had made some changes to the confirmation that was actually shared with me. So if I am accepting the confirmation without any changes, I'm not suggesting any changes to the request that I received for from this organization, then the purchase order, while after this batch job is running, this purchase order will be auto confirmed. Now, since I have made some changes in the confirmation and the organization has accepted it, then it has to be manually confirmed.
Now I have confirmed this one. Now the next part is like we will wait or for the Vinay's organization to send the shipment. So in the meantime, when Vinay ships by truck or by ocean, he can create the invoice in the system. So I will not do the receipt now because Vinay will confirm by creating or informing us about the shipment. So Vinay, over to you. You can create one invoice.
I'm sharing my screen again. Just refreshing the purchase order confirmation. It is not refreshed. Going back to the dashboard. From here, you can see the invoicing that we saw initially. So I'm going ahead with creating a new purchase invoice. So click on new. Then here I will get an option to select for which purchase order I want to generate the invoice. So here I will say it is PO number 160. I will select that. So if I want to put my invoice number, I mean the vendor invoice number. So I will say this is my vendor invoice number. And invoice date is today's date. I don't want to put any invoice description. I'm just creating an invoice. As a vendor, I won't be able to make any changes to the price or maybe the quantity. I'm just because I confirm the purchase order and then I am just creating. I'm just saying that these goods are actually shipped from my location. So along with that, I am actually creating one purchase order for the organization's review. So this is it. The vendor will create this one. So from till the, up to this part, vendor will fill the details and he will click on create invoice. So based on the terms or price that we agreed on the purchase order, it will update those details back to the purchase order. Over to Ramit.
To save it, Vinay.
So the aim is to save it. Just click on save. And I need to exit from this one. Otherwise, if the organization is trying to open this one, it will say that this document is actually in use by the other person. So I'm just exiting from that. You can see the invoice is created and the status is also showing us unposted.
Great.
Back
Now, let me show my screen. Now this is organization part. When this is shipped, Vinay will create the invoice and I can also see the invoice from the pending invoices which Vinay has created. But this invoice will not have any purchase receipt and matching as mentioned by Vinay. See, nothing is there. Invoice description, receipt is not there. Only the purchase order has been added and line quantity. So here, before I do that, I need to do the product receipt or GRN. Because now I got to know that Vinay has shipped it and I got the delivery in my get. So ABC13. I will click OK. Product receipt is done. Now I will go and click on these pending invoices. I will click on edit. I will select this match product receipt. I will match it. If there is 3A matching policy, it will match. Otherwise, it will pass automatically. Now I will click on post. And that is done. So entire cycle from requisition to invoicing, the collaboration we have shown. So from here, nothing I can change in the purchase order unless something, I found that quality wise issue, I can send it for return. And from there, Vinay will take up. But from the collaboration point of view, nothing is left. Now Vinay will show us what else we can have in the vendor collaboration dashboard. But as part of collaborating with organization and the vendor, nothing left to show. Just for the payment unpaid things, Vinay will show what else we have in the dashboard. Yeah, Vinay, over to you. You are in mute, Vinay.
Yeah, hope everyone can see my screen. So this was the page that we just saw. So I'm just refreshing it. It was showing a draft since I had submitted. Now it is from the unposted, it is gone. So now you can see approved. There are submitted, not approved. There are 0 records. There is one, there are 9 records which are approved but not paid. I'm clicking on that to see what exactly are they. So there is one purchase order. This is my invoice number. So for this, the invoice is actually created. The purchase order is invoiced, but I have not received as a vendor, I have not received the payment for that. So this I will be able to see from here. And also, if I want to go to see what are the purchase orders or the invoices for which I received payment from the same organization. So these are the purchase orders. I can see the purchase order details and the invoice details that I have submitted with dates. It also shows the due dates and the invoice status, the payment, whether the payment is received, the payment is pending. Those details also will be visible from here.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that's it about the invoicing part. So I think we have covered almost all the details related to vendor information, vendor bidding, then purchase order confirmation. And finally, we have also completed the invoicing part. And as a vendor, I can see the status of those submitted invoices. Over to Raman.
Yeah, thanks so much, Vinay. I think we have covered everything in time. If Rakesh and team allows, we can take some questions. I can see a lot of questions are there in the chat. So
Yeah, I
over to
think
you,
let's do
Rakesh.
that. I think let's do that. I can see there are a lot of questions, more than 10, 15 questions are there. Let's go one by one. How much we can cover in like 5 or 10 minutes or so, Ramit?
Yeah. So will you allow guests to ask question, or we will read from the chat?
So I think you can go ahead, or if you want, I can read the question.
Yeah, I think the last question, I think thanks to Mayur, I think he was replying all the questions, or MP. I'm not sure, but he has covered a lot of questions. But one question I can see it is not answered, which is invoice lines can be edited, but will let the host confirm. Vinay will take this question.
I did not get that question, Ramit. Could you repeat? I am not able to follow that. Which one is
Okay.
that?
I think they are asking invoice lines can be edited, but will let the host confirm. Is it something that after vendor creating the invoice, are you saying we are able to change that something, or what?
As a vendor, the vendor won't be able to make any changes to the invoice which is already submitted. So vendor won't be able to make some changes in the maybe the price, or as we said, the quantity or any other terms of payment. So that the vendor won't be able to do. So as an organization, the organization definitely have an option, like as we did the three-way matching. Along with that, if they want to add more details, or if they want to put some uh, differences, so that of course the organization choice is there, they can proceed with that. So if it is allowing in that three-way matching uh, threshold, then of course that will be allowed to be posted.
Okay, I think the question was for partial invoice. Can vendor update partial invoice, deliver partial invoice, and update in the invoice? I guess no.
Yeah, that is no.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a one more question, Ramit and Vinit, on the licensing impact. Is there any licensing impact for the organization to provide vendor collaboration? Or is there any
No,
limitation in
there is
customizing on portal? If someone
there
wants
is
to
nothing.
actually.
There is nothing license activity, because this is only part of the external roles, which is not part
Mhm.
of license. But I will leave this question to Microsoft team. This licensing part is something which Microsoft can confirm, but as per my experience, this does not affect the way licensing from the normal licensing part, Rakesh. And
Okay.
there is another question: can invoice attachment be accessed by organization? Yes, vendor can also attach their invoice or shipment details into the vendor collaboration. Vinay, would you like to take this for a couple of seconds to show how to attach the attachment?
Yeah.
So while
I'm sharing it
Vinay
once
is
again.
sharing his screen, Ramit, I can see Bharat has raised. Bharat, you want to say something on licensing side?
Yeah, I would like to highlight one point related to customization in the vendor collaboration portal. So as long as the vendor collaboration portal customization does not impact the uh, roles which are meant for internal purpose or internal organization purpose, it is okay. If some functionality are exposed which is meant for internal organization purpose but executing through the vendor collaboration portal, then yes, it will have a licensing impact.
Okay. Okay. So is there something detailed information is captured in the licensing guide, Bharat? By any chance, do you know?
No, there is not much information mentioned in the licensing guide. The only information mentioned here is that external user should not execute any processes which are meant for internal purpose.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
So as a process, it does allow, but it is some sort of regulation or compliance that while doing that implementation, that organization needs to take care. So that external cannot process the other activities which are there marked as internal one. Understood.
Yes, right.
Yeah, Vinay, go ahead.
So I was trying to open one of the draft invoices which is not approved. I think there are some updates or some changes done from the organization. So I'm not able to open that. So whenever I'm trying to open that, it is saying that there is the invoice is
Just
being
a minute.
edited.
Just a minute. Okay. Can you try now? I think after invoicing, it is not possible to update. Just check.
Yeah, I'm just trying to create a new invoice for another purchase order review.
Yeah.
So this is the new vendor invoice I have just created as a vendor. So from here, if I want to attach some documents here, I can go ahead attaching some notes. So it can be similar to, I'm really sorry. It is similar to the other document attached functionalities of the Microsoft Forms. So if I want to attach a file, I can go ahead creating a file. So if I want to attach any images or notes or URL, I can go ahead with that. In this case, I'm just putting a note just to see that it is reflecting back to our purchase order. Copying the same thing and updating here in notes, details. I'm saving it. Now I am saving this invoice. Ramit, could you open purchase order number 059?
Yeah. 0059.
Correct.
Ramit, we will take 3 more questions before we close the call today.
Yes. We'll just close this in couple of seconds. Yeah, you see the attachment is there in the invoicing, which Binay has added note test for note for attachment. So whatever Binay will add or vendor will add from the invoice creation, that will be visible in vendor invoice in normal operations. Yeah, I think we have answered this question. We have other questions as well.
Yeah, I think there are two questions from Bilur and one is from Gaurav. So Bilur is asking, when I edit a vendor address from vendor collaboration, is there a workflow attached to it from company side? When we edit the
It is
address
that
from
vendor,
collaboration.
yeah, vendor
Yeah.
can update without the work. There is no other workflow in vendor collaboration. Below.
Okay. There is a one more question, follow-up question from Bilur. Can we partially bid? I think we addressed this question.
No, what do you mean by partially bid?
Bilur, if you are still there, would you like to elaborate more? I think she is not there. Anyways, we'll take one more question from Gaurav, where Gaurav was asking at which event in the system will do in the system so that invoice status get changed from unpaid to paid. So he's just trying to understand that set of events which allow the status got changed from unpaid to paid.
If we settle this invoice by the vendor payment journal, it will be paid.
Okay. I think Gaurav, that satisfy your question. I hope so. I think remaining questions are related to partial invoice and the invoice line. I think we all address. I think
Partial
if there are
invoice, I'm repeating, partial invoice is user, I mean, the vendor cannot add amount and everything. Vendor only can select the purchase order and add the number and description. That's it. Vendor does not have any other possibility to add while creating invoice. So by this partial invoice question, I think we have answered it is not possible.
okay, okay. Mayur, I have unmuted you. Maybe if you want to say something, I think I can see you raise your hand. Unmute yourself, Mayur, and go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thanks for this session. Just quickly, I just wanted to follow on the attachment which you just showed. So the Vinay attached the attachment in the invoice and he's just saved it, and the organization was able to access it by going to the purchase order, the corresponding purchase order, or there is some other way also to access that invoice.
It is in the pending vendor invoice. Say suppose Vinay is updating the attachment in the invoice while in creation of invoice. So that means that invoice comes and convert to the pending vendor invoice in the purchase order. If I open that pending vendor invoice, that attachment will be visible what Vinay has attached.
Okay, so there are multiple ways to access the invoice. One is through purchase order, going to that relevant purchase order, and one is going to the pending vendor invoice tab.
Yeah, correct.
Is it? Am I right?
Yes, correct. Ultimately, that invoice where he has attached, that will come and say pending vendor invoice. The attachment will be stored there.
Okay, so that pending vendor invoice section, you can find all the invoices which have been submitted by the vendors.
Correct, exactly.
And that invoice, suppose I'm just asking randomly, suppose that Vinay attaches an invoice, and as an organization, if it goes and find that invoice in a pending vendor invoice tab, can it relate to that invoice with the related purchase order? Is there a organization will be able to relate that invoice with the corresponding purchase order?
This question to Vinay or particularly or what? So are you
No,
saying if you
Yes,
attach
yes,
some,
it is. At the time of while the vendor is creating the invoice, he has to select against which purchase order he is creating the invoice. Then
okay,
he
okay.
will be proceeding. Yeah, then he will be proceeding with attaching the documents. So, anyways, while creating the invoice from the vendor, it will be for a purchase order, and it is actually linked with the purchase order. So, you can open it as Ramit said. You can open it from the pending vendor invoice list, or you can directly open it from the relevant purchase order, and from there in the invoice journals, you can see the pending vendor invoices.
Okay, got it. So just saving, if Vinay saved it, then the attachment will directly flow into the organization.
Exactly. Yes.
Save, no need to do anything. Just to go there, add new invoice and save, attach the invoice and just save. That's it.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks for this help. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll take a last question from Gaurav. Gaurav, go ahead. I have unmute your mic.
Yes, thanks for the session, Ramit and Binay. How can we decollaborate a vendor contact so that they cannot further use the vendor collaboration
Okay.
module or portal?
I have copied a screenshot from my system. So there is, like I
Okay.
started the session from workflow. There is a workflow called inactivate vendor user. So to do that,
Okay.
you need to go to the contacts and you need to click on this inactivate vendor user. That will come to the workflow and it's done. Once the workflow is completed, that will inactivate and vendor will not be able to access the system.
Okay. Okay. After completion of workflow, I think system will automatically disable the user ID of for that vendor contacts.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ramit.
Oh. I think there is no questions. We have tried to address a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think we have addressed almost all the questions, more than 10 questions, Ramit and Vinay. So I think let's conclude for now. So thank you very much for your time, everyone, and especially Ramit and Vinay. And be building a end-to-end journey for vendor collaboration, right from the presentation, they understanding the concepts, then deep dive into the configuration, end-to-end process. And I think thanks goes to Vinay as well, very well articulated the entire process and the synchronization of both the role, Vinay and Ramit both. And also thanks to our attendees, they really understand the concept and ask a lot of questions, which are real life examples. So I think they can go ahead and configure and try to, practice themselves to understand the process again. So once again, thank you, Ramit. Thank you, Vinay, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
everyone.
Ramit and Vinay. Yeah, thank you.
Nice day.
Have a nice day then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.